You're watching Smart 24 TV. This is SMB and we're into our topical discussions, and this morning we are creating awareness for hepatitis, and discussing this with me is Kenneth Kabagambe, who is the founder of Africa Hepatitis Initiative. Before we took a break, we were analyzing and also shining a light on hepatitis, on its signs and its symptoms and exactly what it is. Surely go to our social media pages in case you missed that. You can always review and do comment. And now let's shine a light on to the real statistics and rate of hepatitis in the country compared to global-wise. Ken?
Yes, so there has been a number of surveys that have been carried out to ascertain the magnitude of the problem in Uganda. So the first survey that actually brought hepatitis on the limelight was that survey that was carried out in 2005. So in 2005, the prevalence, that survey estimated the prevalence of hepatitis B at 10%.
That was 2005.
That was 2005. I think by that time we were about 30 million Ugandans, and 10 million Ugandans were actually infected with hepatitis, with chronic hepatitis B. When I talk about chronic, I mean
the one
the long life type of hepatitis B.
That means I have lived with hepatitis B for a long time.
Yeah.
Okay.
So of course, because it was done in 2005, there are a lot of issues to say, but I mean, we need to ascertain the current statistics, because the other one is an old survey, so we need to really dwell into a lot of research. So in 2016, 2017, the Ministry of Health, of course with partners, carried out another survey. It was also HIV. They were looking at HIV, hepatitis B, and I think other infections. So that survey actually put the prevalence at 4.3%. So
that was increasing.
It had actually drastically reduced, though that survey did not highlight the factors that led to the reduction from 10% to 4.3%. But again, when you go to other regions like the North, Karamoja, West Nile, Teso, still those areas contribute a lot of statistics
towards hepatitis.
They still have the highest burden of disease. And
how do we stand now?
Of course, like I've told you, we are still at 4% as a national prevalence.
So we are still considering a reduction, you mean?
Yeah, of course, that is what the current statistics show.
Okay.
Until maybe we come up with other new statistics.
Okay.
But as of now, we shall put it at 4.3. But also, if you look at 4.3 of the 40-something million people, it translates to about 1.8 million Ugandans. So
1.8. That's still. It's still.
It's a very big.
Yes,
it's a very big.
And which ones are more, considering kids? I mean, children, men,
this
women.
survey was actually done in an age group of 15 to 60. So we can't actually.
The young people are not considered.
The young ones were not considered simply because in 2002, the government introduced what we call the pentavalent vaccine. So the pentavalent vaccine has a number of vaccines in there, including hepatitis B. So this vaccine is administered at the ages of 6 weeks, 10 weeks, and 14 weeks. From the time the baby was born. So the assumption therefore was that these people have been vaccinated, have been immunized when they are young, and maybe
that's their assumption.
That was the assumption.
Okay.
But I've also seen scenarios where some children in that category still have hepatitis B. So they're like they've always said that the vaccines are not 100%. You know, they can't give you guarantee of 100%. So you need to do other precautionary measures to make sure that you protect yourself, even when you are vaccinated against any viral infection. Yeah.
Okay, and now let's move on to what Africa Initiative, Hepatitis Initiative, sorry, is doing towards hepatitis.
So
how are you creating awareness, Kenneth?
Yeah, so the Africa Hepatitis Initiative is a new organization. So it was mothered from the National Organization for People Living with Hepatitis B, which is a national NGO that I currently also head as the executive director. So in 2019, we convened the first African Hepatitis Summit, which was held in Munyonyo, Speak Resort Munyonyo. And in this summit, there are so many concrete action points that were meant to follow up. And because the National Organization for People Living with Hepatitis B was registered as a national NGO, we thought we needed a bigger umbrella that would look at the African picture.
Okay.
And that's why the Africa Hepatitis Initiative was formed. So the vision of this organization, the Africa Hepatitis Initiative, is basically to mitigate the impact of viral hepatitis in Africa. And we coordinate a number of activities because we work with civil society organizations in other countries. We also
given that it's Africa highlighted, just the mere hearing of Africa.
Yeah, so
I mean,
we also work with governments in other different countries. We have been actually trying to form a formal working relationship with the African Union, and we are glad that we sit on the African Regional Technical Working Committee for African Union, so looking at hepatitis. And we also actually conduct workshops which are meant to build the capacity of health workers in other countries, and also making sure that we link other African countries to specific programs. Like currently we are linking other African countries to the presidential initiative to treat 1 million Africans in sub-Saharan Africa. This is an initiative that was established in 2019 actually it was announced at the African Hepatitis Summit. So the Egyptian government is treating 1 million Africans in sub-Saharan Africa living with hepatitis C, free of charge.
Uganda is
Uganda is part of it.
Being in the sub-Saharan region.
Exactly, and discussions actually ongoing with the initiative.
Do you already know the statistics, like which hopes are for Uganda? How many people do we look forward
Apparently, that is what the ministry is doing to estimate the number of patients who are living with hepatitis C, so that when the Egyptian government comes in with their support, they know they are planning for so much people.
They are coming up with a vaccine or cure? Because at least when you spoke of hepatitis C, you said it has a cure.
Yeah, it has a cure, and Egypt actually manufactures medicines for hepatitis C.
Okay, so we have great hopes.
Yeah, there are a lot of great hopes, especially when it comes to hepatitis C. The only challenge is that maybe we didn't quickly move, because other countries like South Sudan have already started on that initiative. They are treating their people, and during the World Hepatitis Day celebrations, we held actually a virtual symposium, and Dr. Mohammed, who is the executive director of the presidential initiative to treat 1 million Africans in sub-Saharan Africa, highlighted a number of things and countries that have so far benefited and those that are about to benefit, and opened
within this program
a window on how other countries can actually approach the initiative and benefit from this program.
Okay, and just to highlight for us, Kenneth, how has COVID, interacted? Have you done any vaccinations yet? Have you done any, programs yet as an initiative? And how has COVID impacted you?
Yeah, well, COVID.
You know, some of them it has given opportunities. To others, it has, you know, devastated a lot of things.
Yeah, you see,
so
COVID
you can share with us.
COVID has overshadowed other health programs.
Okay.
Not only in Uganda, by the way. This is a global problem.
It's a global one.
But it also depends on how a specific country strategizes its own or positions itself. There are other countries that, of course, have used the opportunity of COVID to improve on their health, healthcare system. And of course, I think COVID has brought in a lot of opportunities because if you look at now the number of high dependency beds at different hospitals, they have increased.
They have increased.
As compared before COVID was in. Also, I think the capacity of ICU, much
and
as
the
it is not
capacity
yet,
of oxygen.
even oxygen. I think these are some of the things. And when maybe God helps us and COVID goes away, we shall have at least some improvement in the healthcare system. So right now we are still struggling because the COVID pandemic is still exerting pressure on the health system. But once the cure, the total complete cure, comes in play, I mean,
or even the partial vaccination,
even the partial
of people or
vaccine. Sure. So basically, it has caused a lot of opportunities in that sense. But when it comes to the other diseases, because you know, the rate at which COVID is actually affecting people, but if you look at its mortality rate, by the way, it is even lower. Because if you look at the number of people that recover from COVID-19, are huge.
Yes,
so
compared
huge,
to
compared to those
dying,
that actually
especially
die.
In Africa.
Yeah, even other regions actually. Globally, the mortality rate is not so huge compared to that of Ebola, for example. Yeah. So and that actually translates to the issue that we are going to live with COVID, like say flu, these other flus, because flus were also dangerous. You know, but people get flus and they just go on their own even without taking any medication. So that is, I think, the direction that most countries are going to likely go into. Living
with the pandemic, living with COVID-19.
Yeah, just, I mean, there are so many things that have changed. Of course, people washing hands.
And how are you appreciating, or how have you observed government's handling of other viral infections or other diseases, even amidst COVID-19? What has been your observation?
Of course, we must admit that we are constrained as a country because being a low-income country, there are so many priorities. And you know, COVID really has broken the systems. Much as the ministry or government is doing as much as possible to ensure that it protects Ugandans. But like I've told you, the government is actually providing free hepatitis B vaccines to the community. But there are some other things that I think need to be done to ensure that people get to know that, oh, the ministry,
there is vaccine, or there is any service at the health centers.
Yeah, I'm actually, if you carried out a small survey within Kampala asking people whether they know about hepatitis B and where the services are offered, whether their free services are offered, majority of them will tell you, we are not aware. So these are some of the things where I think government needs to improve. There needs to be a lot of community mobilization. That aspect has been lacking. Even in COVID, by the way, we are not seeing a lot of community sensitization. It only comes with COVID. It only improves because it is a pandemic and everyone is looking at COVID.
And everyone switches on the radio when the president is going to talk, or in the ministry.
Hepatitis B, if it was also given the similar attention like COVID, oh my God, I think
maybe because it's not, you know, it's not, I can say, how is it, like,
yeah, you are right, but also, you know, its treatment is expensive. Like, actually, prevention is better than cure. We can prevent some of the hepatitis if we really intensified awareness, and also introduced things like the birth dose, because these are interventions that can clearly cut off the transmission of hepatitis B to other generations. So if we can go into those kinds of cost-effective interventions, we could do a lot of things. So like I was saying, COVID has actually also somehow stopped the other patients to access health facilities. Not because they don't want, but they are fearing to contract COVID-19 in the health facilities. I'll give you an example. Now, the Ministry of Health designated all regional referral hospitals as treatment sites for hepatitis B. But you again know that these
are treatment centers for
COVID-19. So someone would rather stay at their homes than to go to a facility that they
it's a funny one.
So those are
but again true. It's funny again true. When you look at how these facilities are treating COVID, for example, SOPs, it's still lacking. I have a friend, it's not even one, who have contracted COVID from hospitals. Remember, someone just comes, sits.
Exactly.
So you're also coming. So many people are coming. So you just take up the word. And so the sanitization or treatment of SOPs in regards to COVID has still been lacking. Which brings me, Kenneth, to let's talk about, shine a light on the exposure, treatment and prevention of hepatitis B. Please.
So hepatitis B is a preventable disease. And like I said, it has an effective vaccine. Fortunately enough, this vaccine is already in the country, and districts are implementing this actually countrywide. Government started with the north, Karamoja, Acholi, and the Busoga, Mbale regions, all that has been covered. Now we are here in Kampala. We are in parts of Western Uganda. These vaccines are there. Actually, they are in hospitals. But unfortunately, the awareness levels seem to be very low. So this is an appeal again to the Ministry of Health and government at large to integrate communication. Because at least when we communicate about COVID, like the president is going to communicate about COVID,
they should also add in hepatitis.
They should add in that, not only hepatitis actually, but even other diseases. But
we have yellow fever.
Yellow fever. But why am I emphasizing hepatitis B is because they are vaccines, and if we don't create awareness, these vaccines might lay there and
they are expiring.
So that is going to be a lot of loss to the government and the taxpayers. So when the president is speaking, or the ministry officials are speaking, or any other ministry, like they have been seeing them on media center talking about health issues in regard to COVID, let them also incorporate hepatitis, because these vaccines are there. Taxpayers have paid money for these vaccines. Government has procured them, and we need to utilize them so that they don't go to waste. So that is one thing. That is the most effective way of prevention of hepatitis B. But like I told you, most people actually who get chronic hepatitis or lifelong hepatitis B get it when they are young, 5 years and below. Now we are also tasking government to speed up the process of introducing a birth dose, because that if we introduce a birth dose, it will help this country in the future to have zero hepatitis B cases. Because once we immunize these children when they are young, and know there is compliance with the children, the mothers, when they take their children for immunization, they are compliant, as opposed to providing this adult mass vaccination. Some other people will go there for their first dose, never come for the second or third doses. So once you have not completed all the 3 doses, you are equally as someone who has.
So how about the pregnant women who get hepatitis dose? For example, I get pregnant this year, I get maybe 2 years next, they still give me even the other one. Like, where is the science?
Hepatitis B.
What's the limit?
Hepatitis B vaccination is given in an interval of 6 months.
Okay.
So the first dose is given at 0 days. So the second one after 30 days or 1 month. Then the third dose is given after 6 months from the first dose.
And you complete the dose, like you don't get again?
You don't get again. It is a lifelong, protection. It gives you lifelong protection.
Then that means in our health sector, this is still missing, because each time a woman goes for antenatal, again, not each time, but at least once, they give a vaccine for hepatitis.
I don't think that
not B, I do not know, not B or any, but they give an hepatitis.
No, let us have the facts clear.
Okay.
Like I told you, they will test at antenatal. If you are lucky and you go to a health facility that has the test kits. In the event that you don't have and there's a vaccine, they can administer the vaccine because the vaccine is safe.
Okay.
Yeah, then within a period of 6 months, you'll have finished your dose.
And you get the dose done.
Yeah, so you don't need to repeat again.
You don't need to keep, every time you keep pregnant, sure you really tell the doctors.
Yeah, sure.
Whether you received previously hepatitis vaccine or treatment or injection before.
Yeah, but also the other ways of prevention, like I told you, we can use the HIV prevention measures. For example, avoid using contaminated sharp objects, sharing contaminated sharp objects. Okay. Most people I have seen in the country that there are these hawkers, manicure, pedicure hawkers.
Yes,
exactly, and those guys never, sterilize their equipment.
They have like a cloth, they just clean.
I mean, that is to just clear your psychology that, he has cleaned. But that cleaning...
How dangerous is that?
Because I can tell you, hepatitis B virus can stay, like if the blood dropped on a table, it can stay there alive for 7 days.
Okay.
So you can imagine someone has cut and injured someone who has hepatitis B.
And then is going to cut you too.
Then goes around cutting other people, even including the men's saloon. These saloons that have no sterilized equipment. You go there, they have injured someone with the machine they just put on their table.
What if they put on me and I'm not injured? Does that harm me?
It doesn't harm you as long as you are not injured.
But
if you are only injured and there is a wound, blood, contact of blood, that's when you get a problem. But you can never be very sure. So there are simple ways of how we can prevent these diseases, even by the way in those local saloons that do not have the sterilizing equipment. Just get cotton, pour spirit,
and then rub around?
Not rubbing around, but get a matchbox, light the cotton, and then burn the machine. Not burning, but you clean, you warm the machine.
Warm the machine with cotton.
Yeah, with cotton that has
spirit.
That has has the fire. Because it has the fire. It doesn't. You just have to rub around like for 2 minutes and
then it's done.
Yeah, because that is more safer.
Creative idea. Next time I'm going to host you for creativity.
That is more safer than and cheaper, by the way, because majority of these salons may not afford the sterilizing equipment. But
you can afford the 100 shillings for the...
exactly, yeah. So.
Now, Kenneth, on 28th, that was on July, you were celebrating, or we were celebrating Hepatitis International Day. Yeah. What should we look forward as a country or internationally, if you could just briefly highlight for us as we're concluding? Yeah,
this year's World Hepatitis Day was commemorated under the theme of Hepatitis Can't Wait. That was the theme. And it was seriously coined, or strictly coined, because COVID has created a very huge gap globally. Stakeholders, international stakeholders, international funders seem to be focusing more on COVID and leaving other diseases like viral hepatitis, which is actually also claiming as many people as other viral infections. So the reason why we celebrated this World Hepatitis Day under that theme is to call upon stakeholders, governments, that look, much as we are faced with this pandemic of COVID, but hepatitis also is around us and it can never wait. Because can you imagine that every 30 seconds?
That's the word I was looking for,
Every
Ken. When I was
30
sorry
seconds.
to interrupt you, that
Yes.
was the word I was looking for. Hepatitis can wait.
Yeah, exactly. And every 30 seconds, the reason why we even coined that is every 30 seconds, someone in the world, it can even be in Uganda, is dying due to hepatitis related illness.
Okay.
So you can imagine how many people die after an hour to hepatitis related illnesses.
That includes liver cancer,
Liver cancer and all those other
alcoholic related.
Yeah, not alcoholic, but viral hepatitis related illnesses. So we can't wait. So we held a virtual conference, which was held from the 27th to the 28th, of course, with the Minister of Health, Uganda Gastroenterology Society, WHO. And we had quite an extensive discussion to see how do we really move forward amidst COVID-19. So there are a lot of interesting discussions that came through, and we hope that these discussions
Could you
will
just
help.
share with us maybe one or two that gives hope to the country
Yeah, of
or
course,
Ugandans?
we got assurances from the Ministry of Health that they are in the process of making sure that they introduce birth dose,
Okay.
but also to strengthen the referral systems for hepatitis B, because hepatitis B referral system is still very poor.
Okay.
With HIV, if you tested from, say, a health center too, and you are told you have HIV, you know the next step where to go,
Yeah.
which is not the case with hepatitis. Apparently, the only referral points for hepatitis are regional referral hospitals. So imagine you are in Fort Portal, you are in Divundivujo, and you have tested positive. So the only referral center you can go to is Fort Portal.
There's
So
a
in
distance.
there is that kind of distance. Do we see this patient afford the transport to Fort Portal? And when they get to Fort Portal, do they have a relative where they are going to stay maybe for 2-3 days? Because you might get to Fort Portal and never be served on that same day. So you need some time to be there. So all those challenges, we are trying to see how we can advocate for them to change. But the meeting gave us hope that the ministry is looking into that.
Okay.
Yeah, we hope they actualize that, because they are saying something and you never do it because of the other competing priorities.
Okay, thank you so much.
Okay.
And then if you could please share with us your last maybe takeoffs, considerations, or any appeals in regards to creating awareness, to creating hepatitis awareness.
Yeah, first of all, I want to inform the country that we are at the moment faced with the COVID pandemic. COVID is very real. I encourage all Ugandans to observe the SOPs and also to embrace vaccination. If you have an opportunity to get a vaccine, please go and have it. That is the only way that we shall get back to normal. But if we don't vaccinate and have the 20 million target the government is looking at,
The 22 million.
yeah, so we may never go back to normal. Some of us are crying that the children are not going to school, and really it is becoming so much. The children are asking so many questions, we have few answers. So that is the only way. But again, with hepatitis is also very serious. This is a cancer-causing virus. We need to be very, very conscious about our lives, and we need to test and get vaccinated against these viral infections. And also call upon the government and the president to also include hepatitis in the addresses that we receive. It's very important. Yeah, because if we don't do this,
really taken note
if we don't
of
do
that.
this, then the vaccines might not be utilized because people are not aware that these vaccines, that government is providing these vaccines.
Okay, thank you so much. Thank you so much, Kenneth. And that has been Kenneth Kabagambe, who is the founder of Africa Hepatitis Initiative. My name is RITAH KABANYORO, and you're watching SMB at Smart 24 TV. We were creating awareness for hepatitis across the globe. We do take a break. Jerome Paul Sonko will be on your screen with Business and Sport. Good morning.